Each Major League Baseball stadium carries a piece of history with it. This year is going to be extra special, considering that each of the 30 MLB stadiums is going to be open at full capacity for the first time since 2019. Stay tuned as we take you through the coolest ever MLB stadiums of all time, and show you exactly what it is that makes them stand out. First up, the Fenway Park Stadium. This stadium has a special place in the hearts of most baseball fans. It's also definitely something that should be on your bucket list. Fenway Park is like a time capsule. When you visit it, you're taking a trip through baseball memory lane. Even the neighborhood that the stadium is in is all about the Red Sox. It was built in 1912, then rebuilt again during the 1930s. It also underwent renovations a few years ago. You can argue that there are a lot of baseball stadiums that are much better and more modern than this one, but the history and nostalgia make it a better experience of watching games here so much cooler. What makes this ballpark even more special is that it's the oldest active park in MLB history. Sure, it might not be as modernized as the rest, but it's still like a landmark almost. As we said, the stadium is old, and so it's planned in an old-fashioned way too. From the 37-foot left field wall to the only hand-operated scoreboard left in the league and the wooden seats, everything in this stadium screams tradition. If you're watching a game here though, make sure to avoid the obstructed view seats. Fans and players love this stadium so much, they've nicknamed parts of it. The first wall is known as the Green Monster, and Williamsburg is the bullpen area in front of the right center field bleachers. Even one of the foul poles is known as Pesky's Pole on the red foul line. Overall, it's super cool, full of important baseball history. Next, let's look at Yankee Stadium. When you think about baseball, it's impossible that your mind doesn't automatically go to the Yankees. Like any other of the popular baseball teams, the Yankees have their own stadium that's been there for ages. Of course, like any other team, it's been through a lot of changes. The original stadium existed from 1923 to 2003, and now they've completely transformed it. Located in the Bronx in New York, right near the old stadium, it's one of the biggest ever stadiums in terms of seating size. What's more is that the stadium cost over $2 billion to construct and renovate, making it one of the most expensive stadiums ever built. The new stadium follows the design of the old one with modern amenities and greater capacity for seating. The stadium is definitely one of the best, but a lot of old school fans think that the new one is a soulless corporate replica. Maybe it needs to be used more to make its history richer. Let's move on to Wrigley Field. Wrigley Field is home to the Chicago Cubs, one of the city's two baseball teams. Like many old baseball stadiums, this one too has one of the greatest backstories. The first game in the stadium was played in 1915 for Charles Weigman's Chicago Whales of the Federal League, but it opened the year before. A lot of stadiums that were built earlier in the 20th century tend to completely change the design when they're renovated. With Wrigley Field, this isn't the case. The stadium still follows the jewel box design. It's the perfect mix of modern and traditional design after the renovation. The ivy-colored outer walls and the rooftop seats are just perfect. It also has a main entry marquee, which has remained the same since its inception except for a few changes. They added an LED board, repainted it, then decorated it with LED lights in 2016. This stadium is so unique, and that's what makes it so cool. It's been around for ages, but some things have never changed, preserving the essence of the first Chicago Cubs team ever. Now for the Astrodome. You may know it's the NRG Astrodome, or the Houston Astrodome too. It's the world's first multi-purpose domed sports stadium ever, and that's what makes it so extremely cool. What's more is that so many Houston native teams have used this stadium, from the NFL's Houston Oilers to the NBA's Houston Rockets. Even the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo used the space for a few years. As you can tell, the stadium has been well used throughout its history, and that's why it has such a special place in the hearts of Houston residents. Even though parts of the stadium were demolished about a decade ago, it's been listed on the National Register of Historic Places and even came to be known as the 8th wonder of the world. Moving on to the Kauffman Stadium. Home to the Kansas City Royals, this stadium has been standing for a long time. You may know the stadium as the K. It's one of the prime examples of modern baseball stadiums, considering that it was built in the 60s. The K is also the first stadium in the MLB to be named after a person, which is pretty cool. What's cooler is that it's named after the founder, who also happens to be the first owner of the Kansas City Royals. Now for the Oriole Park at Camden Yards. This stadium is in Baltimore, Maryland, and is home to the Baltimore Orioles. Right in the heart of the city near West Harbor and downtown, this is one of the first retro stadiums in the MLB. Even though it was built in 1990, it has a few unique features that were pioneered by the designers who suggested it. The two-tier design of the stadium's bullpen was actually the first in the MLB. This ballpark is particularly special because of all the newer features and inspiring a lot of new stadiums. A lot of traditional feeling asymmetrical ballparks with modern amenities were built after this one, so it's fair to say this was a moment in baseball history. Coming up, the PNC Park and the Oracle Park. This video can only be so long, so let's get into these two stadiums at once. If you didn't know already, the Pittsburgh Pirates call PNC Park their home. This stadium is just stunning, despite the fact that it's relatively new. It's also known for hosting the 77th MLB All-Star Game, and it was honestly great. This is super important to the Pirates because it's their fifth home, and the stadium was made specifically for them. As for the Oracle Park, it's in Soma in San Francisco, perfect for the San Francisco Giants. Right across the bay, it's scenic and beautiful too. A lot of the public transport routes go directly to the stadium, so it's super accessible as well. Like many stadiums, its right field wall is the most prominent. The whole area resembles the Polo Grounds, which is a great fusion of design. There's also a social media cafe that opened in 2013, along with automated video scoreboards. All in all, it's pretty cool. Next up, we have the Shea Stadium. The New York Mets call this home, and it's so special and cool for this reason. It's named after William Shea to honor the fact that he brought National League Baseball back to New York. This was a huge move, especially because the Dodgers and the Giants just up and left for California in the late 60s. It was definitely important, and the Mets owe their revival to this man and this stadium too. The stadium opened in 1964 after millions of dollars were spent and almost 30 months of construction. A lot of hard work went into making this work, and it honestly shows. Things haven't always been smooth for the stadium. It was demolished in 2009. How sad. They dismantled it rather than imploding it because of New York laws, of course. This whole process was so emotional, and it took a lot of months as well. Mets fans came to the stadium for one final farewell many times throughout this period. It's honestly so sad that this stadium didn't survive long. Even though there were plans to build entertainment centers to revive the neighborhood around the stadium, nothing ever worked out, and now the place is barren. Still, the stadium is extremely cool and very special because it's so important to the Mets. Finally, the Rogers Center. This one is awesome considering that it has a lot of cool features in the design and layout, and it's also one of the oldest ever MLB stadiums. The multi-purpose retractable roof stadium stands in Ontario in Canada. It's right near the base at the CN Tower. Yep, this is the home of the Toronto Blue Jays, and they're very proud of it. It wasn't always known as the Rogers Center though. Before a communication company of the same name purchased it in 2005, it was known as Skydome, which sounds extremely cool. Doom stadiums are so cool, and this one in particular is really exceptional. Even if you remove the retractable roof from the equation, it still has a lot to offer. There are also 5,700 club seats and 161 luxury suites at the Rogers Center. The stadium has so much more to offer, and the Blue Jays are proud for all the right reasons. That's a wrap for this video. Which one was the coolest stadium? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.